Today's video is about 10 most wanted criminals in the world. This list consists of men who were heavily involved in organized crime or terrorism-related activities. While everyone on this list came from different parts of the world and have led a very different life, but the devastation they have caused has put them on the world's most wanted people's list. All of them have been criminally charged, either by their own countries or by international tribunals. They all have a long history of committing serious crimes and are considered highly dangerous. Most of them have since passed or have been arrested, while others are free to live their life in luxury, exploiting the most vulnerable owing to the legal loopholes or souring relationships of certain nations. Number 10 on the list is Osama bin Laden's one-time right-hand man, Ayman AlZawahri. Born in 1951, Zawahiri came from a wealthy and prestigious Egyptian family, had connections to first tier of politicians and scholars from both his father's and mother's side. He became involved with Egypt's radical Islamist community at a young age and was reportedly arrested at 15 for joining the outlawed Muslim Brotherhood. In spite of his questionable associations when he was a teenager, he was an above-average student and went on to study medicine at Cairo University and graduated in 1974. Following that, he served between 1974 and 78 as a surgeon in Egyptian army. He spoke Arabic, English, and French. That helped him to easily connect and communicate with people from different walks of life. Ayman AlZawahri was married at least 4 times. He was jailed for 3 years in Egypt for militancy and implicated in the 1981 assassination of Egyptian President Anwar Sadat and the massacre of foreign tourists at Luxor in 1997. Zawahiri acquired the nickname The Doctor when he was in jail. On his release, he moved to Pakistan, where he worked with the Red Crescent, treating Mujahideen fighters wounded in Afghanistan, battling Soviet forces. It is said that that was where he first became acquainted with bin Laden in 1986 at a hospital in Peshawar, Pakistan. Zawahiri was involved in several assassination plots and bombings all over the world in the name of jihad. His crimes left a long line of victims in Egypt, Pakistan, Sudan, and United States, to name a few. On August 7, 1998, there were a series of attacks at the United States embassies in the major East African cities of Dar es Salaam, Tanzania, and Nairobi, Kenya. Hundreds of people were killed in truck bomb explosions. After the investigation, Zawahiri emerged as one of the main accused. On October 10, 2001, Zawahiri appeared for the first time on FBI's top 20 most wanted terrorist list. In the late 2004, bin Laden named Zawahiri officially as his deputy. Later, following May 2, 2011 killing of Osama bin Laden, Zawahiri became the leader of Al-Qaeda. His succession to the role was announced on several of their websites. On July 31, 2022, Zawahiri was killed in a US airstrike in Kabul, Afghanistan. His death is considered to be the biggest hit to the terrorist group since Osama bin Laden's death. While bin Laden came from a privileged background, from a prominent Saudi family, Zawahiri had the experience of an underground revolutionary. Bin Laden provided Al-Qaeda with charisma and money, but it was Zawahiri who brought tactical and organizational skills, the combination that caused such devastating and deadly results for the rest of the world. Number 9. Oleg Tenko. Oleg Tenko is the leader of a Persian crime group based in Vancouver, Canada, and is linked to many global criminal groups. He escaped from a Canadian prison in 2007 and has been on the run ever since. He is also involved in money laundering and stealing cases in the United States. According to reports, Oleg Tenko came to Canada in 1994 from Iran. He is accused of obtaining and selling illegal drugs with his brother-in-law. There are speculations that he might have influenced several members of Iranian community living in Canada at the time to join him in his illegal dealings. From 1999 to 2002, he ran a fraudulent telemarketing business that targeted people in the United States, stealing approximately $3 million from hundreds of victims. Most of them were vulnerable elderly people. Tavali and his accomplices allegedly informed the victims that they had won a lottery, but to obtain their prize, they would have to pay an advance fee. None of the victims ever received any money. Instead, most of them lost a good amount of their savings to these scams. Ultimately, he was charged with mail fraud, wire fraud, and telemarketing fraud. Tavali was arrested in British Columbia on an extradition warrant and was eventually ordered to be extradited to the United States by the British Columbia Supreme Court in May 2007. Tavali appealed his extradition order and was awaiting decision when he absconded from the correction facility where he was held. Tavali, who is considered to be extremely dangerous, has connections throughout Canada, Europe, and Middle East, and remains an international fugitive. Number 8. Felician Kabuga. Felician Kabuga, born on 1st March 1933 in present-day Rwanda, was a multimillionaire who amassed his wealth by owning tea farms in northern Rwanda, among other business ventures. He has been indicted for genocide, crime against humanity, and other serious violations of international humanitarian law. Kabuga is alleged to be the main financer and backer of the political and militia groups that committed Rwandan genocide. According to Wikipedia, on 29 August 1998, Kabuga was charged with conspiracy to commit genocide, complicity in genocide, and extermination as a crime against humanity. Kabuga fled Rwanda in 1994, evading arrest. After that, he tried but failed to obtain shelter in Switzerland. He is rumored to have spent some time in Democratic Republic of Congo and later believed to have moved to Nairobi, Kenya. On 16 May 2020, police arrested Kabuga, then aged 87, in Paris, France. By this time, he had spent 26 years as a fugitive. On June 7, 2023, judges at the United Nations War Crimes Court ruled Kabuga unfit to stand trial. According to the judges, Kabuga was no longer capable of meaningful participation in his trial, as he suffers from dementia and is not in a state to stand trial physically or mentally. Number 7. James Whitey Bulger. James Joseph Bulger, notorious for deadly mix of cunning, violence, and intimidation, was born on September 3, 1929, in Boston to Irish parents. Due to various circumstances, he became drawn to street life and early in his criminal career acquired a nickname Whitey because of his blonde hair. Even as a teenager, barely 14, Bulger developed a reputation as a thief and street fighter, fiercely loyal to South Boston. This led to him meeting more experienced criminals and finding more lucrative opportunities. At one point, after his first arrest and subsequent release from the prison, he joined Air Force as an aircraft mechanic. He even earned a high school diploma during this time. There are reports that allegedly during his first stint in prison, Bulger volunteered for an experiment conducted to find a cure for schizophrenia. As part of the experiment, he was injected with LSD, and as a result, he went on to suffer insomnia and nightmares for most of his life. He later learned the tests were actually conducted as part of a top-secret CIA program designed to develop a mind control weapon. Bulger, or Whitey as he was known, is known to have committed more than 19 murders and also has been a part of murder conspiracies, racketeering, money laundering, extortion, and illegal weapons dealing. He became a fugitive in 1994 and was added to FBI's 10 most wanted fugitives list in 1999 and was considered the most wanted person on the list behind Osama bin Laden. Although Bulger vehemently denied it, sources from the FBI suggested that he had served as an FBI informant for several decades, starting in 1975, providing information about the inner workings of the patriarchal crime family, his rivals. During the time of his arrest, the reward money offered for any news of his whereabouts was $2 million. He was arrested along with his girlfriend, Catherine Craig, outside his home in Santa Monica, California, on 22nd June 2011. He was 81 years old. Because of his notoriety, he was moved several times after his arrest. During one of those relocations, when he was moved to United States Penitentiary, Hazleton, West Virginia, within hours of arrival, Bulger, who was in a wheelchair, was beaten to death by inmates on October 30th, 2018. It is speculated that his role as an ex-FBI informant got him killed eventually. I have recorded number 6 on the list a couple of times already, but I feel like I cannot get the pronunciation right. So please bear with me. I might be completely butchering this one. Number 6, Alimzhan Tutakhnov. Born on 1st January 1949, he is a Russian businessman and a former sports personality accused of bribing figure skating judges in 2002 Winter Olympics. He is wanted by FBI since 2013 for sophisticated money laundering scheme and his regular involvement with organized crime gangs like Taiwanchik and Trinka, a criminal enterprise with long ties to Russia and Ukraine. FBI is offering $4 million in reward money for any information leading to his arrest. Federal authorities in the United States have been pursuing Tutakhnov since early 2000s in connection with fixing ice dancing and pair skating competitions at the Salt Lake City Winter Olympics that happened in 2002. He was also wanted by the federal prosecution in Manhattan for being a leader of a sports betting ring with operations in New York, Los Angeles, Russia, and Ukraine. It is alleged that his setup drew in billionaire gamblers and laundered millions of dollars through accounts around the world. Tutakhnov is alleged to have been one of the members and a leader of a select group of high-level criminals from the former Soviet Union known as thieves-in-law. They were known to receive tributes from other criminals, offer protection, and use their position of authority to resolve disputes among other criminals. As of 2022, Tutakhnov lives, or shall we say hides, in Russia. Russia has no extradition treaty with the United States, and owing to the souring relationships between the two countries with each passing year, it seems highly unlikely that he will ever be extradited. Number 5, Joseph Kony, the warlord. Famously known by his initials JRK, he is an Ugandan militant. Coming from a farming family background, Kony has long been one of Africa's most notorious and most wanted militant warlords. Kony is the self-appointed messiah of the Lord's Resistance Army, LRA, a rebel group responsible for Africa's longest-running armed conflict. One of his alleged offenses includes ordering the abduction of children to become child soldiers and sex slaves. Under his supervision, approximately 60,000 children were kidnapped to serve as soldiers and slaves. Then, he forced these child soldiers to kill their parents and siblings to show their loyalty. Kony's forces have also been responsible for the deaths of over 100,000 people, and nearly 2 million more were allegedly displaced internally from 1986 to 2009. This is an unprecedented number of victims by any standards. Joseph Kony was indicted in 2005 for war crimes and crimes against humanity by the International Criminal Court, but he has evaded capture till now. While initially they were claiming to fight against government oppression, the LRA allegedly turned against Kony's own supporters, supposedly to purify people and turn Uganda into a theocracy. Kony calls himself a spokesperson of God and a spirit medium and claims he is visited by a multinational host of 13 spirits, including a Chinese phantom. Kony ordered members of his LRA to abduct, threaten, destroy, and murder countless people in the name of his spiritual powers. Hence, the LRA is now listed as a terrorist organization by both Uganda and United States governments. Kony and his supporters believe that making a cross on their chest using oil will ward off bullets and will keep them safe from harm and evil spirits. What's more, they have fed these baseless and potentially dangerous theories to their child soldiers, making them believe that if they make a cross on their chest using oil, they will not be killed by enemy gunfire, essentially sacrificing them for their own blind beliefs. According to reports, Kony has been hiding in Darfur, Sudan, since 2022 and is giving orders to his commandos in Uganda. Though his power and influence has dwindled considerably, he is still considered dangerous and remains one of the most wanted criminals. Number 4. Simeon Mavich. Mavich is Ukrainian-born Russian organized crime boss. He was born in 1946 in Kyiv to a Jewish family. He graduated in economics from the University of Lviv. His first foray into crime began when he was successfully able to scam fellow Soviet Jews who wanted to immigrate from Kyiv in the 1980s, either to Israel or to America. He operated as an intermediary, selling jewelry and artwork belonging to people who were desperate to move. He promised to purchase their assets, sell them for fair market value, and forward the proceedings to the owners. Instead, he simply sold the assets and kept the money for himself. He served 2 terms in prison of 3 and 4 years for his offenses. Mavich has been called world's most powerful mobster and brainy don, who once allegedly bought an entire airline for the purpose of trafficking heroin. He has also been accused of extortion, prostitution, illegal money trading, large-scale drug trafficking, and even nuclear weapons dealing. He is supposed to have some high-profile connections owing to his money laundering skills and has built a reputation as a financial whiz. Mavich is said to be extremely violent to his enemies. He reportedly has ex-Afghan war veterans as his enforcers and is merciless when it comes to eliminating his enemies. In 1993, Mavich, along with the Solinstevenskaya crime family, acquired a jewelry business based both in Moscow and Hungary, which was used as a front to sell jewelry, antiques, and precious art pieces they had stolen from Russian churches and museums. It is even alleged that they robbed art collectors' homes, broke into Eastern European and German synagogues, and stole rare religious books, Torahs, and artifacts that were sold for profit through these stores, creating sort of an illegal market with a legal front. He didn't stop at that. Following year, Mavich brought a license to buy and sell weapons and controlled much of Hungary's arms industry. He absorbed everything from mortar and anti-aircraft gun factories to artillery shell and fire equipment manufacturers. With him having held several different passports at once, he was able to conduct his illegal operations without borders, despite having been on the FBI's most wanted list. For several years now, he lives a free man in Russia and allegedly still runs his various illegal operations quite successfully. Dawood Ibrahim is one of the most prominent criminals in the Indian underworld, who has been declared as a terrorist for his association with Al-Qaeda by the United Nations Security Council and the United States. He is the head of Indian organized crime syndicate, D Company. Dawood Ibrahim is wanted on charges including murder, extortion, targeted killings, drug trafficking, and terrorism. Dawood has also been linked to drug smuggling operations, shipping and selling narcotics in the UK and Western Europe on a large scale. Dawood Ibrahim and his syndicate D Company have been linked to the financing of many ventures in the Bollywood film industry, which controls a huge chunk of Indian entertainment business and has a turnover of billions of dollars every year. He is considered one of the masterminds behind 2008 Mumbai blast, which killed more than 170 people. In 2010, Dawood Ibrahim was officially put on world's most wanted list. He has never been arrested till date, despite numerous attempts by Indian government. He is suspected to be living in Pakistan at present, though a lot of his business ventures, if you can call it that, is run out of Dubai. There is a conspiracy There were times Dawood was ready to come back to India, provided he receives a fair trial without any extreme punishments. His offer was outright rejected by the people in the government. Speculation is that he was not able to carry out these atrocities without the involvement or, let's say, help of people in powerful positions who also stood to gain from his dealings. If he comes back or is caught, then all their secrets will be out in the open as well. Hence his fugitive status for so long. Number 2. Matteo Messina Denaro. The last godfather of Sicilian mafia, Matteo Messina Denaro, was born in Sicily in 1962. Allegedly, Denaro learned to use a gun at 14. Not surprising, considering his father and godfather both were part of Sicilian mob as well as his older siblings. His list of crimes are extensive and bloody. He was accused of killing 2 anti-mafia judges in 1992, as well as strangling the partner of a rival mafia boss who was pregnant at the time of her death. He also allegedly kidnapped the 12-year-old son of a man who was testifying against him, holding him hostage for nearly 2 years before strangling the boy, then dissolving his body in acid to prevent the family from burying him. Starting from 1993, Denaro was considered Europe's most wanted criminal. He was given over 20 life sentences in absentia for his crimes, most notably in 1992 due to his involvement in the murder of anti-mafia prosecutors Giovanni Falcone and Paolo Borsellino. Denaro received his latest life sentence in 2022 for the fatal bombings in Milan, Florence, and Rome in 1990. On 25th September 2023, Matteo Denaro died in the hospital in central Italy after slipping into an irreversible coma. He was 61 years old and was undergoing treatment for cancer. Number 1. Joaquin Guzman. Joaquin Guzman, famously known as El Chapo, was born on 4th April 1957. El Chapo was born and raised in a poor farming family. His father, in a way, introduced him to drug trade at a young age as he grew and sold marijuana to local dealers. By all accounts, his father was abusive. El Chapo began working with Hector Salazar by late 70s. He was head of an operation whereby large quantities of cocaine, methamphetamine, marijuana, and heroin were produced, smuggled into, and distributed throughout the United States and Europe. He achieved this feat by pioneering the use of distribution cells and long-range tunnels near borders, which enabled him to export more drugs to the United States than any other trafficker in the history. This in turn brought him immense wealth and power, enough to be featured in Forbes' one of the most powerful people in the world between 2009 and 2013. He is famous for contract kidnapping, target killings, and extorting. In 1993, El Chapo was arrested in Guatemala and then was extradited and sentenced to 20 years in prison in Mexico for murder and drug trafficking. Using his considerable influence, he bribed multiple prison guards and escaped from a federal maximum security prison in 2001 and became a fugitive, resulting in an almost $9 million combined reward from Mexico and the United States governments for information leading to his capture. He was arrested in Mexico in 2014. His famous escape prior to formal sentencing in 2015 through a tunnel dug by associates into his jail cell was captured on a video. Mexican authorities recaptured him following a shootout in January 2016 and extradited him to the United States a year later. In 2019, he was found guilty of a number of criminal charges related to his leadership of the Sinaloa cartel, and he was sentenced to life imprisonment and incarcerated at ADX Florence, Colorado, United States. And that concludes today's video. I hope you found it interesting and informative. Thank you for watching. Please do like, share, and subscribe and hit the bell icon. I will see you in the next one.